Hey friends, welcome back to the farm. We're going to talk about beef today because we're going to pick some up. So we'll show you how you can source your beef locally and get it for a fraction of the cost that you're going to get it at the grocery store. So let's go to town. We are loading up every cooler we got to take with us because we're going to need the room for the frozen meat. The locker that we use is about 40 minutes away, so we're headed over there. It's a place called Bner Custom Meats in Amherst, Nebraska. And they've been doing this stuff since the 1800s. It's a really nice meat locker, meat processing facility. I like it because they vacuum seal everything so your meat lasts a lot longer. But there's lockers all over and probably even in your area if you just seek out a locker. But we'll tell you how to source the meat once we get on the way here. So stick around. So let's talk a little bit about buying beef at the store. There's a huge markup on beef. If you've bought groceries or any kind of thing like that these days, you can see that steaks are costing a lot more, or any kind of beef, even hamburgers costing a lot more than it used to, obviously. But there's still a way to source it where it's not crazy expensive for you. So you go to the store and buy, like, say you want to buy a steak. Some of that stuff's going for like $17 a pound for a cut steak. And that's absolutely ridiculous because the farmer is not getting that price. The farmer would love to get $17 a pound. So, find yourself in your area somebody that grows animals for beef, a rancher, and chances are they will sell you beef that they have grown and cut out the middleman. So how that works is you tell them what locker you want to go to. Around here you got to have an appointment at the locker. It takes almost a year sometimes to get your appointment to bring in a beef. So once you have your appointment, your rancher will haul in your beef to that facility. They'll take it in and they'll harvest the animal, and they'll skin the animal, and they'll dress the animal. And then you'll have what's called a hanging weight, which is basically without the internal organs, the skin and the hooves and the head and all that stuff. That's your hanging weight, and that's what your price is based off of with the grower. So our grower is the same lady that we get our milk from, our raw milk. And she charges a flat rate of $2.80 a pound hanging weight. And yes, if you're doing like boneless cuts and stuff like that, there's going to be some loss. Bone-in cuts, you're not going to lose that much. I mean, it's just bone you're paying for. But you're going to pay the hanging weight, and then you have to pay the processor, the locker plant, for the processing, the cut and wrap. Now, that can go from anywhere from like $1 a pound to $2.50 a pound, depending on the locker and what they charge for. Some lockers charge for every little thing. Disposal fees for the waste materials and all that. Premium cut charges. If you order a lot of premium cuts where they're having to do more cutting, they'll charge you a premium cut charge. But the locker that I go to has basically a flat rate for the hanging animal in their store there. So once the animal's dropped off, like the locker that we go to, there's a phone number you can call or even a website you can go to. We go online and you tell them what your cut order is. And if you're not experienced with that, they will help you with that. But me being around animals all my life and being around beef, I know what I like. So last time I got some rounds roasts, and then I had him cut a bunch of steaks, and I even saved the bones last time because we made bone broth last time if you were around back then. And then you can tell them whether you want to keep the liver, the heart, the tongue, and all that stuff. So once your order is in and your animal is hung for a while, kind of dry aging in their locker, sometimes they do like up to about 14 days, and then they'll pull your animal in and they'll process it, and then they'll give you a call once it's good and frozen. This locker plan is really cool. They source their labor from the young ladies in town, and they work around their school schedule so they can take their kids to school, have time to do that in the morning, and then they come in and work at the locker plant, and then they're off in time to go pick their kids up from school. So they're working with the local young ladies that have school-age kids, gives them gainful employment that they can do and still care for their children and get things done. So that's super cool that they're doing that, and it's pure genius. More people ought to do that if they don't have set hours of operation that they have to run. So we've got the call. We're headed in to get our beef. We got a half a beef, so somebody else got the other half. But you can get down as low as a quarter, and I think some growers will even split it up further than that. And then what happens is when you get like a quarter, they will cut up the whole half of beef and then they'll divide it evenly, because if they divided it, you know, that half in half and gave one person half and one person the other, some people, one person is going to get cuts the other one's not going to get, because those cuts come from a different area on the beef. So it's not quite fair that somebody's going to get all the New Yorks and the T-bones and all that, and the other person gets all round steak and all that. So they'll process the whole quarter and then divide that up between the two people. So it's harder to customize your order when you're ordering a quarter. But if you order in a half, you can tell them exactly what you want and they'll give you what you want. So let's get down there, and we'll hopefully be able to show you around the facility a little bit. It's a really neat old facility. And I want to try to get a hold of the owner, see if he'll tell us a little bit about his operation there. But if not, we're going to pick up our half of beef and bring it home. Now let's talk a little bit about dry aging. Some places dry age longer than others, and some places will allow you to choose how long you want your meat dry aged. So basically what dry aging does is your beef hanging loses moisture. And just like dehydrating or freeze drying or whatever, it intensifies the beef flavor the longer you dry age your beef. But you are going to lose weight by dry aging your beef. And the price you pay for the animal, the hanging weight, is at time of harvest. So if the animal loses, say, 15% moisture in the dry aging process, you're still going to pay what it costs hanging weight the day it was harvested. So I don't think you're going to, you're really going to worry about that. But just to let you know, it's going to lose pounds as it dry ages in the cooler. All right, we've arrived. We're in Amherst, Nebraska. This is Belshner Custom Meats. They've been here since 1892, so they've been around a while. They obviously know what they're doing. So let's take you around. So when you bring an animal in, you bring it here to the back of the facility. They have a chute here that they run them in. They currently have some hogs here ready to be processed, and they've got some cooling water going on them. So this is where your grower would drop off your animal here. And then they have a sign out here for the producers. It said, please snap a photo. It's got all their information on how to tell your customers to put in their cut order and all that. And it says you'll be notified when your order's done. There's a $5 charge per day per storage if you make them wait after 7 days. They only have a limited amount of cold storage there, so that's why they do that. They need you to come pick up your order so they have room for other people's You're not taking up all their cold storage space. Now, when I was young, we called it the locker plant, is where you took your beef in, because you could actually rent locker space. They had like drawers inside the freezer area, and you could rent one or two of those locker drawers to store your meat in, and you would stop by on the way home from work and grab whatever you wanted out of your locker and take it home for supper. Let's go pick up our order. So here's our order here. We've had like 6 crates full of meat. We're putting it in all of the ice chests. Got all the different cuts.
Bones.
All frozen. Even got the bones we can make some bone broth with. So this is Casey from Belschner Custom Meats. He's going to show us around a little bit and tell us a little bit about the operation. You've been here since 1892?
Well, I haven't.
Well, I know you haven't.
Yeah, no, the shop's been in this location since 1892. I'm the 5th generation to own it. I bought it from my granddad, Jim Belschner, back in 2001.
So you're an actual Belschner.
Yeah, my mom was a Belschner.
Awesome.
So, 20 years ago, we did 6 to 8 beef a week, and now we do about 40 beef a week and 24 hogs. And those are all locally sourced animals that generally the people that raise them sell the size in quarters. If people call me and they say, hey, I want a quarter of beef or a half a hog, I put them on a list, and then when I know somebody has a beef or hog that's scheduled, but maybe has a extra quarter, I can send that customer to that
Excellent.
guy.
So people can go straight to the processor.
Yeah.
And they'll know if there's animals available.
I'll know who has what. If they have special requests, grass-fed, certified all-natural, corn-fed. Most of the beef we do are corn-fed beef, but there's all kinds of little niche markets, and if generally somebody's looking for something, I'll probably know who has it or where they could find it, or give them a lead to where they can track down.
You're very familiar with the growers in the area because they all come here. I know this is my favorite place to come get meat. Now remember back in the day, it took like almost a year to get an appointment. Are we still at that point?
No,
that was kind of COVID, all that kind of stuff.
That was COVID. Beef was cheap, and everybody wanted it. Everybody was worried they couldn't get it. So that really drove demand up. Beef now, prices are back up.
So how soon can somebody get in now to get an appointment?
Oh, a couple weeks.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. I mean, nobody wanted to be booked out a year or 2 years. It's just that bad service. Somebody calls, they want to get something scheduled, and you say, oh, sorry, I don't have room for a year. That's a bad look for all of us.
Even with that, you probably had cancellations where you could bring somebody else in, right?
Yeah, we're moving people around. I mean, back then there was just a lot of people snagging up slaughter dates that they didn't even really need. It was infinite, finite resource that everybody thought they needed to get something. But now it's back to kind of normal how things have been. We've always been booked out anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. That's normal. If we at the time, if we were ever booked out more than 6 weeks, we added on bigger cooler, bigger freezer, more meat cutters.
Now, how long do you hang, say, a beef? Do you do any kind of dry aging?
Yeah,
or?
everything we do custom is dry aged.
So like my beef, how long did it hang?
Anywhere from 13 to 18 days.
Nice.
Depending on how much fat the guys will sort them, will slaughter them. They'll all get about 12 days, and then they'll pull them down and kind of say, hey, this one's fatter. It can go longer. Bigger, fatter carcasses go longer. The lean ones, the selects, the grass-fed, they're going to come down earlier. They're in that 10 to 12 days. They just don't tolerate the time on the rail as well because they don't have all that fat protecting them. And sometimes some of these lean selects, or they're just hamburger beef. People just want to grind something for a burger.
That's what we use the most of. We use a lot of hamburgers. So.
Yeah, but your beef is fat, so that even the hamburger pieces were dry aged 2 weeks. But
Now, are you strictly beef and pork, or do you do other animals as
we
well?
do lambs during the fair time, lambs and goats. You know, we've done ostriches and llamas and emus, but not so much of that anymore. Mostly it's beef. Bison, we do a few of those.
Oh, nice. Yeah, our neighbor raises some bison.
Yeah, mostly beef and pork. We generally we slaughter pigs on Monday. We do like today, we do 24 pigs on Monday, and then beef all the rest of the week. Slaughter about 10 pigs a day.
Very nice. Now, this lady here is doing some hamburger chubs.
She's making hamburger chubs. We grind from that coarse grind, fine grind, and then it goes in this hopper, and it'll start. This machine tells that machine how much the portion size. These are 1 pound bags. Puts a little metal clip on each end. Either really tight, they don't leak, so you can thaw them out in your fridge and not end up with a puddle of blood all over everything.
So can you determine how big you want your chubs?
Yeah. When we do on custom, we ask you, you want 1.5%.
Those are popular suggestions.
Yeah.
If you say I want them 1.25 or 0.75, half pounder.
You can do half pounders as well. Cool. I can't see doing them in less than 1 pound myself. We use a lot of hamburgers, and even if it's left over, it's good.
If you were 90 years old, live by yourself,
Yeah.
a half-pound package sounds
That would make sense. Yeah. That just means I don't have to cook the next day though. So you've got some cutting going on here on the cutting floor.
Yeah. Back there.
That's what it looks like in an old-fashioned meat processing facility right here, folks. Now, what I like to tell people when they get hamburger at the store, it could be 150 different animals in their hamburger, and it might even be from the United States. It could be from other countries and everything, because they bring that in from everywhere, the big packers, to make their hamburger. This is one animal. You know how it was raised. You know where it's sourced from, and that's the best way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's a different flavor. Like I said, you know, you could get a pound of hamburger that's got 100 different animals in it, and a lot of times of those 100 animals, it's all the same piece. It's all shanks, or it's all, and so you get kind of a pretty monotone flavor profile compared to taking one animal and taking little trimmings off of several different steaks, roasts. It's one animal, but it's, I think more importantly, lots of different pieces off that animal. It just kind of makes it a different flavor profile than it's a pound of hamburger, 100 pounds of hamburger made out of all shank meat or all rib lifter meat.
Now, a lot of people think when they go buy hamburger at the store, is there like organ meat in it and stuff like that? How far can they go into calling beef ground beef?
I don't really know the answer to
No?
that. I
But if
can't
it's the beef,
imagine-
they can call it beef, right?
If
No
it's
matter
beef,
where
they
it comes
call
from.
Beef. Yeah, like I'd be surprised if there were tongues or hearts in there.
Which wouldn't bother me, because that's good meat to me. But
Yeah, I mean, I know I've seen like some pork products where it's pork, but they'll say pork, they're glandular, like glands.
oh yeah,
Salivary glands, just all kinds of weird stuff. But I guess it's pork, and I wouldn't say a gland is meat. But
Yeah.
I think that's probably why they have to list it on there. But
and
I
there's
don't
some
really
glands
know.
you don't want to be eating. I know when I cut my own pork at home, I cut those out.
Yeah, we do that too. Glands aren't meat. My wife wouldn't want glands in her hamburger. I would just assume nobody else does either. So, yeah.
Now, I was telling everybody that like when I was young, we went to what's called the meat locker, because you could rent locker space within their cold storage. Is that something that you still do?
No. A lot of people still call us Amherst Locker. Grandpa got rid of that, I think, in maybe the 70s when like everybody started having freezers at home.
Yeah.
But there's still got a bunch of lockers downstairs. There's a whole couple hundred locker keys hanging on the wall over there.
I remember
days.
locker space was premium. I mean, you had to wait for lockers to open up because people would just leave their meat forever for like 5 years and not open up the space.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, there's still lockers in Nebraska. There's people that rent lockers, but you know, our space, I think, our freezer space is turnaround space. We get it done. We start texting people that it's ready to go, and we hope that they come and get it within 4 or 5 days. Just because, you know, every day if we bring 10 beef in, 10 beef have to go out the front door.
Yeah.
So, and then some people live a long ways away, and we work with them. Like, you know, you got to drive from a ways to get it. But if you're local, we hope that you can come get it.
and like me, I didn't give you my new phone number, so
Yeah.
you've had mine for almost a month.
Yeah, we finally took the time to figure out why we couldn't get a hold of you.
Yeah,
Just
I called in this morning. It's like,
update
is
your number.
my beef ready yet?
Yeah, we knew eventually people get hungry.
Yeah, I'm
and
out of
start looking for
hamburgers.
their meat.
So can we look at your like retail portion of your shop here?
Yeah, we do carry some retail cuts here.
They got a lot of antiques and stuff hanging on the wall. It's just really cool to come in here. I love this place.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff. This used to be a general store. They did everything, you know, meat, salt, flour. Some of these old things for dispensing like shot, for building your own shotgun shells. And this was the original building in 1892. It was a wood building.
Oh, I love history. That's awesome.
But they tore it down and built this one in 1910.
You see all the old gizmos and stuff up here on the wall. Got the old meat
There's
cleavers,
our old locker. There's our locker keys.
locker keys.
Back from when everybody had their own locker.
Kind of like your own, what do they call it? The boxes at the bank.
Yeah, like a safety deposit.
Safety deposit box. So they've got custom stuff that they sell here as well.
Yeah.
We missed some over here. A lot of their sausages and stuff that they make.
Bratwurst, different flavors.
The pineapple bratwurst is fantastic. I've had that, and I think I'm going to take some home with me today again. But they've got ribeye steaks and all that stuff. Pork sausage,
And just ground beef.
lots
They
of ground
restock
beef.
that a
Yep.
little bit.
And then I know we can't get through Amherst without getting some of your beef sticks over here.
Yeah,
They're
we got
amazing.
several different flavors.
We
Beef
love the
sticks.
honey barbecue sticks. They're just absolutely amazing. And then they have some with cheese. They've got
It's restructured jerky. That's kind of like a ground and formed jerky.
nice. We've made that at home. Bloody Mary jerky?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's a.
My kid would love that. Prime rib jerky. You don't see that very often.
Well, yeah, it tastes like prime rib. It's not actually ground up prime rib.
No.
It kind of tastes as a prime rib seasoning.
Now, that brings up another question that a lot of people have.
Yes.
So, a lot of people think prime rib is prime grade meat.
Yeah, it could be. You know, I suppose it probably should be called choice rib if it was a rib roast.
I know people that are using select grade and calling it prime rib because they're buying the rib roast and they're cooking it like a prime rib.
Yeah, you know, it's, and I have customers, I talk to customers every day, and you know, there's a lot of marketing terminology that kind of crosses from one muscle. Some of it's different ways of cooking stuff that gets labeled a certain type of meat, and it's kind of hard to follow. But yeah, prime rib, you know, it's a rib roast. It's, you know,
Cooked whole.
Cooked whole. I hope that is choice to prime. You know, maybe the purists would say it has to be prime, but yeah, and slow cooked and
So,
seasoned a certain way. And
what does the grower do to determine whether his beef has got a lot of marbling? I mean, what can you do to make sure they've got a lot of marbling? How are they being raised?
yeah, you can start
Lots of
with-
grain?
Yeah, I'd say even before that, you can just start with genetics. You know, there's certain people that have beef that consistently grade higher, you know, with a certain given days of feed. So genetics is important. Genetics is important for marbling. Genetics are important for tenderness. That's a little out of my realm, you know. But that, as a producer, yeah, the genetics are super important. Days on feed and what you're feeding them. I don't claim to be a cattle feeder. I've never fed out of beef in my life, but I talk to folks and I see beef and hey, this one looks really good, and they happen to mention, well, it's been on full feed for 100 days or 120 or 140 days. They'll go into maybe talking about different rations they feed it, which again kind of goes over my head. But
So you hear a lot about like Wagyu beef. Is that more of the breed, you would say, or how the animal's treated and fed as it's raised?
That's a breed. They have kind of a different Japanese Wagyu. Have a style of feeding beef that really seems to be like a very sedentary lifestyle. Everything's calm. They tons of protein, get really fat just like we do. Again, don't know a lot about it, but that's another thing, animal husbandry, keeping stuff calm. That I think plays into maybe some of this Wagyu marketing stuff. They say they play music, give them massages,
Feed them beer, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, all the stuff that maybe would be relaxing, but like in a commercial setting, having cattle that aren't crazy. I think there's some people that they bring in a beef that they have a problem with or can't keep it in or it's just crazy. Yeah, there's stress that happens and that's not good. So cattle show up and they're in a trailer and they're really wound up, not good. Might be take them home, bring them back some other day, or if they get hot, they cool down. If it got out and they were chasing it around, probably don't want to butcher it.
Yeah.
So there is humane handling, animal husbandry that figures into that. Most of the beef is bred in trailers. They're used to being around people. They come in, they're pretty relaxed, and that definitely plays a part as well. And then aging, aging is important too. Aging helps. I think that's kind of what's in my control. Aging is time, temperature, humidity, all those things are important. But
yeah, you can't just put a hunk of meat in a cooler and expect it to age correctly. You've got to have the humidity and everything
all that
right.
Stuff matters, and I can turn all those dials and work on that. But if I get something inferior genetics that hasn't had very much feed, really lean, and happens to be crazy, no amount of hanging I'm going to do is going to make that a good deal. So
now I've already told everybody that most people just pay hanging weight after the animal's harvested. They pay that to the grower. How do you determine what your prices are here? Is there different scales, or is it a flat rate? Do you have premium cut charges? All that stuff.
It's $1.03. We charge the slaughter of beef. We charge a little bit to dispose of the offal, head, and hide. There's no hide market anymore.
Is that part of the $1.03, or is that added on?
The
$1.03 is cut and wrap.
$1.03 is cut and wrap. Disposal for a whole beef, I think, is $25, and the slaughter is $99. So if you got a whole beef, you're paying all that.
Okay.
If you only buy half of the beef, your liability is half.
Of course, you're paying half of it.
A quarter of it. And that's pretty much the flat fee part. If you wanted, say, hamburger patties made, we charge extra to make hamburger patties, or if you wanted some snack sticks and jerky made, we charge extra for that.
Yeah, there's more labor involved in all of that, obviously.
There are some little upcharges in there for things that might require dragging out a different machine, like a patty maker, or
Now, say somebody comes in the door, they've never done this before, they have no idea what to put on their cut order, anything like that. I'm sure that being in the business long as you've had, you can help them out, you can advise them.
Yeah, I can.
And offer kind of a package. Hey, this is kind of what everybody does. Do you want more roast? And even your cut order kind of breaks all that down.
Yeah. So, I can do that. Girls have been here 20 years. They can do that too.
And you can even determine how much fat you want in your hamburger, right?
Yeah. We'll definitely give suggestions. If I can tell somebody's never ever done it, how many people are in your family? What do you use? Do you cook a lot of roast? Do you grill a lot? do you use stew meat? Do you use fajita meat? Do you use beef short ribs? And sometimes you're like, well, no, I don't, but maybe I would if I had them. And then we can kind of give them some suggestions on, what. I mean, it's like I'm not a cattle feeder, I'm not a chef either. But
yeah.
I know a lot of cattle feeders, and I know a lot of people that do a lot with this meat and tell me about recipes that are good. And there's seasonal things, but there's times change. With the advent of like a Blackstone grill, those flat tops, we were doing way more fajita meat than we ever did.
Absolutely.
People were doing stir fries, and they're doing like Philly cheesesteak sandwiches on them. So there's little fads. Somebody invents a new muscle. They're like a flat iron.
Yep.
Ranch cut steaks.
Picanhas.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah.
Denver steak. You can go crazy.
Years ago, nobody ever talked about it. It's marketing. It's putting fancy names on stuff. It's not like beef grew new muscles. They've always been there. We just found a way, or somebody found a way to market them a little more effectively, get a little more dollar out of a beef carcass.
And that's everybody watching the Bearded Butchers.
Yeah,
they want all this custom stuff now.
The internet in general, they'll come in and, well, I want this steak, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to Google that and figure out what it is.
And if you want this steak, you can't have this because it came from the same part.
Yeah, again, it's just renaming something or taking something out of something and calling it something else. So yeah, we can do it. I a lot of times I will Google something that somebody had said and figure out what it is. If I can see it, I can tell what we in the industry call it, and now keep in the back of my mind, well, that's the new fancy name that everybody else is now calling it, because I'll get asked about it again down the road. So.
Well, Casey, I appreciate all the information. I love your store here. This is why I come here.
And I appreciate the business.
I love that you vacuum seal all your cuts. It's amazing, and we've got some good beef here. So really appreciate your giving us a little tour.
Anytime.
All right, folks, we picked up our half of beef. And we're going to get it home and get it in the freezer, which is going to be another chore. Kelly plays a lot of Tetris, so maybe she can reorganize it when she gets home. But you can see why I like going to this meat processor here. Wonderful people. They do a bang-up job. They'll help you in any way that they can to get your order in and get it done for you. Now, one thing I'd like to mention, you'll see on these packages of meat, it says not for sale, because your farmers can't process their meat, take it home, and then sell it. In most states, that's against the law. So when you buy beef from a local rancher, you're buying the animal. You're not buying the processed beef. So you actually own the animal even before it gets to the processor. So say you buy half a beef, they take a beef in, you own half, you own half shares in that beef with whoever else bought that. So you're buying the animal, you're not buying the beef. So when it's processed, it's being processed for you. It's not being processed for the rancher. So you can have your meat processed and take it home. Now, there's opinions that vary on why this is, why these laws exist. And I think the main reason is because the big meat producers, which they're getting less and less, there's like 3 or 4 companies that control all the meat in the United States now. And you can see the prices at the grocery store, they're making a bunch of money on that. And that's their incentive to keep the little guy, keep the ranchers from selling their beef outside of the market, because they want all of the money. They don't want farmers shortcutting them and cutting out the middleman and selling to other people. So that's how you get around it, is you buy the animal itself, and you can have that animal processed any way you want. So, and there's people even cracking down on that because they're starting to spell things out. But these big meat producers, they lobby all the legislature and stuff like that, and they get these laws passed. Now, it's my opinion, I should be able to source my food from wherever I want to source it from, and I don't care where. But the big producers approach the legislature and say, oh, this is unsafe. This beef hasn't been inspected by the USDA, and we're going to kill a bunch of people, and they put a big scare in them. and they get them to pass these laws that are absolutely ridiculous. Case in point, there's an Amish guy, Pennsylvania, that has a big operation. He sells beef, chicken, pork, he sells eggs, he sells milk products, vegetables, everything to his community. And it's not just the Amish community. There's a lot of other people in the community that come source stuff from him because they know it's raised right, it's treated right, it's handled right, because these people put the work in, obviously. And a lot of people want his product. But he's been raided by the feds and by Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, and they use this food safety thing. But it's my argument that his food is probably cleaner than a lot of stuff you're getting from these giant meat processing plants where they're processing thousands of animals and you never know what you're getting. And you're even getting it from other countries that don't have the standards that we do here in the U.S. So how can they say this poor Amish guy that's raising this stuff is any less sanitary than anybody else? I guarantee you he's doing the work and he's keeping things clean. And people want his stuff, but they've gone through and they've raided the guy. They red tagged all his product where he can't sell it. They've even told him that some of his product can't even be fed to animals. He can't use it, can't sell it. Basically putting him out of business. Now, you got to be pretty bored to go out and try to raid an Amish guy that's just trying to mind their own business out in Pennsylvania. So you got to keep informed, keep educated, and know when these laws and stuff are being passed, you need to lobby against them and go make your voice heard, because they don't want the little guy to produce for themselves. They don't want you to be sustainable, because they want to control the market where they make all of the money. They control everything. They don't want the little guy taking any cut out of their profit. And that's just wrong, and we need to turn that around in this country, in my opinion. But I'll get off my soapbox right now, and let's get this beef home. All right, we are home. We brought our little milk crates up to haul some meat down to the basement because I can't carry these big coolers full of meat. So let's get her downstairs. Well, we got it all in. We got 2 full shelves of hamburger, and then I have some filet that's back there behind the top. Got some beef jerky here. Got all our premium cuts, our ribeyes, our sirloins, our New York strip. We've got our chuck steaks down here, and more sirloins. And then have all our pork on that shelf, all of our nuts on that shelf, all of our snack sticks right there. So a few extra little chubs of hamburger. That's not all of it. We have some stuff upstairs that we're going to process here over the next couple days. But quite a haul. Here's the meat we got upstairs. I brought a couple packages of snack sticks to thaw out. We'll burn through those in a few days. We've got all our bones that they saved us. I didn't think, actually I didn't tell them to save any bones this year, but it was still on my order from last year, so they keep your old orders to see what you like. So they gave me some bones to make bone broth with, so we'll do that. We've got the heart and the liver. Here, the liver's huge on a beef. There's the heart. So we're going to cook this down for the pups. Kelly and I don't necessarily like heart and liver, but the pups love it. And then when we do our bone broth, we're going to do our shanks and all that other stuff with it, because the shanks are really big. There's not a lot of meat around it, and Kelly doesn't like the tendons and connective tissue and all that. But we'll cook this down with the bone broth. We'll strain out any meat that comes off these little bones, and there's some meat on these little bones, and we'll make that part of the dog food as well, so we're not going to waste anything. Now, all of the chuck steak, we're going to take that, we're going to can it all, and I'll do that in another video, and we'll show you how to do that. Again, with the chuck steak has a lot of connective tissues and stuff in it, like a chuck roast. So we're going to can that in a jar. It cooks 90 minutes in a pressure cooker. So it tenderizes all that, so you really can't get the texture. And it's a really good, quick, easy meal when you have canned meat in the pantry. So you probably want to hear the rundown of the cost of what it costs to go get this meat done here locally, sourcing our local beef. So all in all, after cut, wrap, purchase of the animal and everything, we paid $1,458. The weight hanging of the half of beef was 348 pounds, and that was just half. They weigh over 1,000 pounds when they go into the locker, minus the head to hide the entrails and all that. Came out to 700 and some pounds. So that comes out to $4.18 a pound. You can't even get the cheap hamburger for that price per pound. Go look at Angus, 100% Angus hamburger, and see what you're paying per pound. It's insane. And $27 for one T-bone steak. So we did pretty good. Now, not everybody's got that kind of money laying around, I'm sure. But you can get a quarter, and they could probably even do less than that if you go talk to your local processor and line something up. So, plus, you know where the beef is from, you know how it was raised, you know there's nothing weird in it. So, it's well worth sourcing your local beef. Hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. So, until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Come back and see us here at the farm.